So we jump in a second early. That's fine. Hello out there and welcome to this new stream layout, new quite a bunch of lot of stuff, etc. Um I did a stream already this morning, but I thought maybe jump on another stream that is, how to put it, yeah, a little bit more friendly for the time zone across the pond. If there may be some questions on what I'm talking about, and just noodling around a little bit in the template and showing it off, and or showing it, not showing it off, and work a little bit with it and tell you guys what, and girls, what this is all about. So I released a product today, which is, I called it the CTO Cubase QuickLoad Template. And this is pretty much the accumulation of my last 10 years working with templates and everything to have kind of a hybrid approach that doesn't break the system but still gives you enough flexibility and routing possibility to work fast and efficient. So without further ado, let's jump straight in. I will not go through all the details again on how you install and everything. The stream from this morning is on the product website, so you can access it there. I go the first 2 minutes, the first few minutes are all about the setup and what the download contains and how you set up your system. But the basic principle is when you get this product that you get a Kontakt QuickLoad database with these folders, and also with these folders all included. And the work that you need to do, unfortunately, that I cannot do for you with the template, is to cultivate the QuickLoad database with your sounds that you have available on your system. So I included a bunch of developer folders already, so you can either fill that up there. If something is not there that you have, that is not on the list, you can easily right-click and add a new folder. Let me move that a little bit over here. So, and then you can, when we show the browser, let's pretend I have Nucleus and I do not have it in my library here yet. So what you usually do is, once you open it up and you have this quick load, for example, I go to Nucleus, and let's just say all this stuff is not here yet. So I create a Nucleus folder, go to Nucleus, to my strings, and drag the whole thing in here. That's pretty much it. And as soon as I did that, this will become available in the quick load menu next to the instruments. Well, the keyboard we want to have, we don't want to see the browser. So once you have cultivated your quick load, that's pretty much the way of working. You can open whatever instrument you want to work on and choose from your own library of sounds, whatever strings, for example, you want to work with. So say in this example, we want to work with cinematic studio strings, violins. So there you go. Now I have my violins on the first channel. So, and that is the dry sound as it comes straight out of the library. So no surprises there. Where this thing differs is that everything is pre-set up for you to... Funnily enough, I just realized that I'm missing something here. The strings should actually also have a delay attached. if I would have quick link. I'm doing that off screen for a moment. So that means now all the reverb sends, for example, for these groups are preset up. We have reverb for the long strings, for the short strings. And the reason why we have different ones is usually I like to have control over different amounts of reverb for the short and long strings, for example. So that's why these are two different sets. Solo strings, brass, percussion, tune percussion, guitars. Then here we come into the area where we also use black hole, ethnic instruments, keys, synth, vocals and choirs, tonal sound effects, and sound effects, which are hits, rises, etc. So all these effect channels are already pre-routed. Just so you know, there are two versions in the template. One is with these plugins that I'm showcasing here, with Slate Virtual Mix Rack, for example, for mixing, and these different reverb and sound effect types. But I also included a version with Cubase stock plugins only. If you don't have any of the other plugins, there's still a way to do it in Cubase, within Cubase itself. With the difference is then you don't have the virtual mix rack, for example, in the channel. This is empty, but you actually have the channel strip with a compressor, saturation, and EQ. So that's the alternative if you don't have any other third-party plugins. But I like the convenience, for example, of the Slate mix rack because, first of all, it's sitting on every single channel from these are like 180 tracks. So we have 180 instances of the Slate Virtual Mix Rack, and they don't affect the CPU as much. So they are very lightweight, which means you can easily load the patch and get a little bit of mixing done right away. Say we want to have a little bit low cut on the strings, give them a little bit shine, a little bit resin, and make them a little less boxy without. So, or you could also say if you want to have a more warm sound, you can get rid of a little bit of the high end above 10K. For example. And the same thing applies for the send effect. So everything is preset. You just dial in the reverb. Usually it's set around 2.3, 2.4 seconds. Let me check what I actually have in the settings. 2.2. So not that bad. So very, very subtle. But depending on the amount of send that you dial in here, you can have it more wet. That's obviously way too much. I usually have it at -10, something like that. So, strings there. And the beauty of this template is that every instrument that you load, so for example, say we want to bring in some cellos, then we go to the cello channel and load, let's say here we want to have the Conmodo cellos. Let's go with these. So now that sounds like no reverb attached. The room is pretty loud. I can bring it down a little bit. Usually I also put these to -6 standard value. Oh, we can bring up the room a little bit. So, and then I can again apply a little bit of reverb. It doesn't need as much because the room mic is way more present. But still I can, well, not this one on the cello. I like to use this guy. Get rid of the ultra low end there and give a little bit of definition. That sounds pretty nice. Can do a little more reverb. So, and every MIDI channel instrument has its own audio return, and you can directly affect the sound for each instrument without jumping to the mixer. You can do it directly from here in the inspector. Little hint on the side, if you intend to buy the template and you don't see the same settings here in the inspector, make sure you click the little setup button here and have these activated. So you see the actual connected MIDI returns, audio returns for the MIDI channel. And these are connected on the output section here. So here you see these are the outputs from Kontakt, and every instrument has its own dedicated output. Let's go to the short strings. Let's load an ensemble patch here, for example. Another thing to mention. One downside, well, not really downside, but one thing that can happen is when your database grows, your QuickLoad database, there can be a possibility that it takes a little time for Kontakt to access the database, and then it says loading. And unfortunately, this happens every time you open Kontakt. Unless, and this is what I do, I take one of the instances and have them open and just let them sit open. How much for the template? Right now it's on intro price for $29. Let me put down the link for you guys. It's store.composingtutorials.com. And the intro pricing is valid till July 2nd. And then it goes up to 39. So again, I leave one Kontakt instance open because when I leave one instance open, then it remembers the database for all the other instances. And then it doesn't matter if I open or close it. Obviously, it's a little bit tougher to do when you're on one screen. So then I would recommend to have that instance and get rid of this always on top. That way it's now sitting behind the window. But if you have a multi-screen setup, you can just move the second instance that and you see it's still loading because I have a pretty big database. But it only needs to do that once when you keep that instance open. So I like to keep it always on top, but move it out of view onto another screen. And then I just let it sit there. And then when I'm accessing the database from any other instrument, it comes up right away without any wait time. So that means still spinning. I shouldn't have done that and closed that. But so long we can play a little bit around. Neef, you're again here. Neef was lucky enough to win a copy of the template this morning. Congratulations again. And also, thank you for mentioning it. Indeed, I decided to join Patreon because it's cool. And it's a way that you can show your support. So It's patreon.com/composing tutorials. And I will have some giveaways there, goodies. There will be store credit because there are more products coming for sure. But let me give you the link. It's patreon.com/composing tutorials without the backslash there, but it should still work. Yeah, it does. So it starts at $1 a month. And I also created a Discord server now. Let me quickly switch the view here. So I also created a Discord server that you can join, and there are some perks for Patreons. Obviously, if you pay money, there's some extra. Otherwise, why would you pay money? And one of the first posts on my Patreon is actually my favorite piano patch that I can show that to you. So this is my absolute favorite piano. And I already saved that. One thing I forgot to mention, the cool thing about this whole template approach is that it's modular, which means you can, once you have everything set up with your libraries, you can save these multis. For example, you can do a multi just with cinematic studio strings and load that right away. Actually, you're not seeing the screen, so there you go. You can save the multi. Right now it's strings, and when I reset that back and forth, then it's the empty shell again. But you can save that as string CSS, for example. And then that way, over time, you build your own library of Kontakt instances that are ready to go. And so when you write something and say, okay, actually, I want to go for Metropolis Arc on this one, oh, I saved a template for that already. Just load it. It's there, fully loaded, fully routed. Everything is ready to go. So you don't need to worry about anything. Nevertheless, now I killed the cinematic studio strings here, so bring them up again. I'm sorry. And what did I use for cello? I think I went with, I mean, it doesn't matter. I haven't started writing anything. So cello's there. And I was talking about the piano patch in Patreon. So that is my absolute favorite piano patch right here. No, other way around. There we go. So, and this patch is now one of the first posts for my Patreon subscribers. So I'm giving away that multi so you get the exact sound. One thing I also added. Do you use OSC in the projects you work on? Occasionally. I reprogrammed my complete control to actually have most of the MIDI controllers available right here in this area. But for my, just because I did this template does not mean I abandoned my V Pro template. I still occasionally work on that one, and therefore my OSC is better suited because that's more integrated there. But yeah, I still use it, and I still, especially when it comes to key switches. So, for example, when I load Cinematic Studio Strings, I usually jump to my key switches, load the expression map for Cinematic Studio Strings. I just realized that there are some expression maps in the template when you buy that. Funny enough, but that's fine. So and now I can switch from the. I cannot switch because I haven't started Touch OC. Funny, not funny. Sorry for that. Do the what? Does the window turn black when I click on start? No. Oh, because the admin mode was on. Where were we? Touch OC. Does it work now? Yeah. So I still use it for key switching. So to answer the question, occasionally, yes, I still use the pad. Back to the piano. And that needs a good splosh of reverb, and I love the black hole on the keys. And I also did something new in case you haven't seen that in the stream. So for future streams, when we actually get back to writing something, maybe we write something today, why not? Introducing the key view. Hope that helps. I would have loved to put something directly on top so you get a top-down view, but that will do for the moment. Maybe I figure out a way how to do it directly from the top. What is Black Hole? Black Hole is an effect plugin by Eventide. It's based on a famous hardware unit, which is there we go. This is Black Hole. It's pretty steep, but usually they're 2 times a year. I think they do a sale on this one for 29 or 39 bucks. And this guy is just an incredible sounding reverb. So when I go back here to the piano, let me turn off the other reverb. So this is Black Hole alone. Bring that up a little bit. Actually to put it there. I need to figure out a way to remind myself where I need to move stuff on this screen so you can see it in the chat. So Netrax, thanks for the hint. Virtual MIDI keyboard. I'm gonna look into that. Maybe I can put something down here in that area that we have an actual MIDI keyboard across the screen. That would be really nice and helpful for the future. I love the low end on this piano. Yeah, we can add a little bit of delay. So pretty good stuff there. A little bit side information, if you have instruments that are not part of the template, obviously you can include everything. And if you, for example, need to load a synth, something else that is not included, I just included the QAS Retrolog. So, but if you want to add a synth, for example, let's go for a third-party synth. Let's say we want to include some Spire pad. So in the audio outputs, directly when you load, you can select the channel where you want to send it to. So this corresponds pretty much to all the groups you see in the folders. So right away, when you load a new instrument into this template, you can make sure that you send it to the correct output. So this has to do that when you render the stems in the end, that everything ends up where it should be. So when I know I want to load a pad sound from Spire, then I just add Spire and route it to pad already. If I, while working, change the sound and actually change it to an ARP, for example, there's always the possibility here on the direct routing pad tab to change the routing and go send it to ARP. So you have 32 gigs of RAM. Good point, actually. So right now in its idle state, the template is sitting at 7 gigs of RAM. The reason being is that there are no sounds loaded. It's empty shells. So all these Kontakt instances that you see here are empty instruments. So you can see here they take no amount of RAM at all than what the Kontakt instance itself takes. So 32 gigs should get you pretty far. And exactly, I wanted to say that. And then when you really run into struggles with no more RAM available, you can just freeze instruments. So then you open the instrument panel here. I think you cannot really see that right now. Let me quickly turn off the chat. Still not available, but there is this little freeze button here, freeze instrument. And that way you can free up RAM. But 32 already should get you pretty far. Another cool thing about this whole approach with the template is, so for the strings, for example, for the synth and for the percussion, I used 16 different tracks, so 16 MIDI tracks and 16 outputs. Based on my workflow, I realized I usually don't need that much on brass and woodwinds and other patches, so I only did 8 in the template. But if you feel that you're running out, so that you want to work, for example, with 2 different horn patches in a track, there's 2 ways you can do that. If you open the empty instance, when you just double click, it creates a new empty instrument, and you can, in the output section, can determine where you want to send it to. So that is one way to do it. More convenient and the even more easy way to do it is to take the whole folder, brass, right click, and say duplicate. So what happens now is it duplicate the Kontakt instance, and all the MIDI channels will be duplicated with the same effect settings, the same routings. Everything is right there ready to go. So you then can go ahead mixing and working with it right away with the second instance. I'm going to delete that for now because we don't need it. Cheers, coffee. And let me get rid of the keyboard view for now. So that's also a straightforward way to access more patches. And when you duplicate, the only toll it takes on the RAM is another instance of Kontakt. But that's one of the reasons why I did not go with one Kontakt instance per instrument, because with the approach of using the actual multi-timbral functionality, of Kontakt, and having 16 instruments on one Kontakt instance saves a bunch of RAM and a bunch of processing power. So it's really in its default state a very lightweight template. The overall file size is like, you can see that here, 15 megabytes. And that was one of the disadvantages, in my opinion, of this enable and disable approach, where you have like hundreds of instances of Kontakt, but they're all disabled, which is fine. But once you start enabling all these instances of Kontakt and working with it, your file size can blow up to 5, 6, 700 megabytes, sometimes close to a gigabyte, depending on how many tracks you have running. And that just increases the save time immensely, especially when you have autosave every 5 minutes and then you need to wait for 20, 30 seconds till the project is saved. That can be a real PITA while working. So there's that. I would say let's write some music, shall we? Oh, and just on a side note, if you join Patreon, what's also happening soon is there will be track review and track critique sessions that are only available for Patreons. So I'm gonna listen to your tracks and see what I have to say about it, and maybe I can help you a little bit. So this is something that is going to start in the coming weeks. I'm just waiting for people who are actually willing to hear my 2 cents on what they did. I would love to have a template, but unfortunately I use Logic Pro. Funny you say that. I'm actually thinking about ways to do the same thing in other DAWs. I tried to build that in Studio One, and I kind of was successful with it, but I let you know. So ideally, jump to the Composing Tutorials online website and subscribe to the newsletter. As soon as I have other DAW templates available, I will let you know. Is that the same for Engine and Omnisphere with the instruments per instance? It is, absolutely. So what you can do, let's say we add an instance of Omnisphere. Let's walk through the whole thing when you want to add a multi-timbral instrument. Let's say we add Omnisphere and we start Omnisphere, the first channel on the synth bass. Nettracks, yes, this template is available for download. store.composingtutorials.com. So it's a product that I launched today. So it is available for a small price, in my opinion. So intro sales for a week, 29 bucks, and it goes to 39 after that. So we have a first channel of the instrument of Omnisphere here. So a few things that we need to set up for Omnisphere. Let's open up the mixer as well, the mix console. So luckily it's all color coded, so we see Omnisphere is here. One thing that I forgot to mention, when you bring in new instruments, make sure that the pre section of your instrument is actually I need to bring in the, unfortunately Cubase doesn't show that in this mixer. You need to bring in the main mixer. So let me bring that in for a second. All the instruments that are preloaded in this template in the mixer in the pre-section are set to -5. So I bring the level down before they hit the fader by -5. Usually you could even put that down to -10. Which means when you bring in new instruments, like I just did with the Spire and also with the Omnisphere, you need to lower the pre-gain on these channels to make that the same level as the other instruments of the template. I also note listed that in the manual of the template in case you forgot about that. Otherwise, especially with Omnisphere, if you don't lower the pregain, you end up hitting the red immediately with, especially because usually they are mastered and or pumped to close to 0 dB, and you end up bringing the fader like down to here to have a reasonable working level. And when you have the fader down already that far, it makes it hard to do fine adjustments the further you go down. So it's easier to bring the pregain down. And with Omnisphere, I usually do it by -10. And that way I have a reasonable amount of volume to work with within the template. So when you brought in Omnisphere and you want to use it multi-timbral, the next thing to do is open up the instrument. Not there. There. Takes a little moment. Usually Omnisphere takes a little moment. There we go. So, and what you want to do is you want to go to the multi section. We talked about this at the roundtable. That's true. Yeah, it's pretty much the concept of gain staging. So having a reasonable level right away. So in Omnisphere, you want to set all these outputs to the individual channel. What I would recommend, I actually did not do this. Let's do that right away. You should save this setting as the default patch. Whoops. So I can say save multi, default multi. How can I say that as default? Is that possible? It doesn't matter. Save that as default. Done. And then we have, oh, come on. User category multis. Okay. Let's save that as default. Okay. So anyway, now you have all the different outputs for Omnisphere. We can close that. And the next thing you want to do is on this, let me bring that over for a moment. On this little arrow that is next to the instrument in Cubase. When you click here, you can say activate outputs. We don't see that right now. Why not? Where is my outputs at? Where's that window? That's strange. Oops. By the way, in comparison to the stream this morning, I changed the position of the chat. I hope that's better now, so you can see more of the actual screen. Nevertheless, I'm still wondering why Omnisphere does not show me my outputs. Where is that? Huh? That's really strange. Oh, there we go. So I can select all these outputs and activate them at once. Oh, okay, good to know. So going here, that little, yeah, okay, save as default preset. There you go. So now Omnisphere is saved with the multi-out as default. Last thing to do is get back to the mixer. So now we have these 8 channels of Omnisphere. So I'd like to select all of the other ones that we just created. And bring the gain down by a good portion, -10 in this case. So, and the first channel was bass. So usually I name the tracks as well, Omni bass. So let's say the next one is Omni arp, Omni pad, And I do have lead as a group, and I have other as group. Usually I'm fine with these. So, and then in the routing, you obviously want to make sure that these tracks end up in the correct group. And you can search when you type as Y. This one is ARP. This one is PAD. No, sorry, this one is ARP. This one is PAD. This one is lead. Again, synth. And this one is other. Usually I use other for textures and stuff like that. And I only need 5 outputs, so I can delete the other one. So Omni base, and this one is routed to the first MIDI channel of Omnisphere, Omnisphere channel 1. And it's coming back on Omnisphere base. Direct routing, you see synth base. Now I right click, say, and I need to have that channel selected. When I add MIDI tracks, it will automatically route them to the corresponding instrument. It should, at least. So add track MIDI, and I want to add track 4 more MIDI tracks, the 5 that we just set up for Omnisphere. So this one should technically go to Omnisphere, and it does. Channel 2, Omnisphere channel 3, and 4 and 5. So I can rename that to Omni ARP, Omni PAD, Omni lead, and Omni other. Another thing that I would recommend to do is to activate the latency compensation button, which just helps when you record MIDI that the MIDI is actually on the grid and not before the grid the amount your system latency is. So just on a side note, if you don't see this button, the latency compensation button, and you will see that I have that automatically activated for all the other tracks that are in the template. So I've done that work for you. And if you don't see this button, you right click and say track control settings, and then you move this one over, ASIO latency compensation. It would be sitting here, and then you add that to the visible controls. Last but not least, bring the mixer in again for here, because obviously the insert effects are missing that are pre-set up for all the other tracks. So I go to the inserts. And when you start from scratch with a blank screen, it doesn't really matter which one you grab. You just hit Alt and mouse click, and then you can just copy over the settings. So this is just the empty virtual mix rack. And when this is done, you can hit save and save that as a template. By the way, same for the send effects. So let's do these two. So all are there, and bring the initial value down. So now I have multi-timbral Omnisphere in the template. Save it. Bring the channels down again. I was inconsistent here. That should be all capital letters. So now selected track is open. So there we go. And now I can say, okay, let's load a bass patch on that first Omnisphere. Yeah, and pretty much for engine, it's the same principle. So you can set up multiple outputs. And I do have a version of this template where I do have engine in there and Omnisphere and all is pre-set up. But actually it was a good idea to showcase that here. Yeah, you can copy chess. That's true. You can copy with paste, copy and paste as well. I just find the alt drag version pretty convenient. So, and then let's say we load a bass sound. For the bass. Very, very long. On the second one, let's load an ARP patch. Well, obviously change the MIDI channel there. Let's look for all. That sounds cool. Keep that. On the third one, let's load a pad. I want a pad. And obviously want to change to pad here. On the fourth one, the lead I leave open for now. Just jump on the fifth one, which is other, and usually with other I have textures and stuff like that. I like that. Let's keep that there. So the last thing to do is now I said that the return here is omni bass. So now I go to the ARP and change that return to ARP and to pad and to lead and to other. So now I can say the ARP, for example. And as we copy that over, I can immediately jump onto EQing, compression, sound manipulation. No, not this one. Let's say I go with this one. I want to get rid of a bunch of low end. Not the best sound to showcase an EQ, but you get the idea. And I mean, I love the mid-dissonance sounds, but their reverbs and delays are kind of hilarious. They just go on and on and on forever. So let's keep it at that. And since I had the mod wheel all the way down, obviously. It's still going on and on and on. But yeah, overall, you get the idea what the principle behind that is. So you have now a multi-output version of Omnisphere available, and every patch has its own delay and send settings and EQ settings. So now you can say for the pad, Very cool pad sound there. And what I would also do is usually put these on 101. As a starting level. So remember, I turned down the pre-gain by -10 and turned down the patch from 127 to 101 as well. So you see that, you should see that there. With the multi. Yeah. So I bring that down to 101. Now 101 is the standard setting. Actually, Omnisphere needs to be at 80 or something. But what I want to say, so bring that down and the -10. And if we look at the fader and reset that. If I bring that to not the best patch to showcase that, but you have patches in Omnisphere that trigger above 0 easily. So like this, we are down -10 and already hitting -12, you know? So if that would not be -10, we would be at close to 0. So you get the idea. What do we want to do? Why is that dry? I don't want my piano dry. That black hole is a little bit much there. Where is my ethnic instance? There we go. I closed it again, so it takes a little bit to load the... What's it called? The QuickLoad. Omnisphere is clear. We have multiple patches loaded. So let's get into writing. Paul, good evening. Good to see you. Round 2. Well, it's not that different from the first one. I just wanted to do another stream that is more convenient in timing for the folks across the pond. So everything that is Asia and Germany. And maybe available to answer some questions. Unfortunately, I will jump off for a second and make a little bit more room for the coffee. So I will just put you on pause for a second and we'll be back in a little moment. Feel free to chat away. So there we are back right away. Cheers, guys. And just so you know, in case you didn't, um, if you should decide to join my Patreon, there are tiers that will also make available all the either mixdowns of the tracks that we do on the stream, but also for the little higher tiers, I included or will include downloads of the MIDIs and stems of the tracks so you can dive deeper and take a listen or look yourself into the MIDI besides joining the stream and seeing what we do, but actually dive deeper into the project. That's obviously just for personal use, but maybe helpful for one or the other out there. So just so you know, that's another perk of the Patreon tiers. So let's write some music, shall we? I feel like we could try a little bit felt piano stuff. So let's look at something. Empty the piano patch. And see, what do we have for keys? Native pianos. Actually, let's start with una corda felt. Let's bring the reverb down. One thing that I love about the unicorda is the reverse delay. Where is it? Where is it? There we go. So that sound, I love that, especially when you sync it. When you then add a little bit reverb and a little bit of custom delay, feel something is there. And we should move back to that view. Sorry. So that you can actually see. So what I meant is the unicorda and then the reverse button here. I love that sound. It was a little bit down, and I also turned on the fabric. Maybe let's go for a little bit of like a ballad style. So I think rather double time. No, slower. And that might be suitable for the keyboard view right there. Okay, let's see if we can sketch out an idea. I'm in G minor. I happen to be quite often in G minor during the last streams. Maybe we should change that up. New key and instantly other chords come along. That's funny. We could do it in E flat minor. Funny thing, it is said that certain keys have invoke certain feelings. So I think I recently saw a chart about that. What key for which feeling? Let's see if Google spits something out. Musical key characteristics. Okay, let's look at that. DB major, degenerating into grief and rapture. Okay. D minor, melancholy, the Hans Zimmer key. There you go. F sharp minor, gloomy. It tugs at passion as a dog biting a dress. Okay. G minor is uneasiness. What might be the reason why I love G minor so much? So, okay, what does C minor do? C minor, declaration of love, and at the same time, the lament of unhappy love, all languishing. I think that is a big pile of BS. Emotions of musical keys. That's the same stuff. Frig it, we just go with C minor. I like that. Just a improvisation a little bit there. Don't want to hard quantize, just a little bit. See, hope I didn't make any bad mistakes there. There were some hiccups in terms of volume, so I will bring down the overall, so compress the MIDI a little bit so I don't have these standout notes so much. And for that, we should actually get rid of the keyboard view. Oops, there was a blue note in there. Okay, there we go. That's a nice little basic to start with. And we did load this Omni other patch, this texture. Which I don't like. So I want to have something else. I like that a lot. And I bring the CC11 here on the keyboard way, you can't see that right now. You can see that here. So I bring that way down because I just want to have that as a texture in the background. So let's record that. Close Omni. Give me click. And I keep that as a pedal tone on C that runs throughout the whole chord progression there. Just because it sounds nice. So duplicate that. Okay, so I can already hear something for the short strings there utilizing the delay. So let's see. Let me load. Go to the high ensemble and load something from orchestral tools. Maybe the please show the keyboard. Okay, there we go. With keyboard view now. So go to high ensemble. Oh, there's so much noise in the patch, but one thing that we can do to get rid of the noise a little bit is to bring down the release. And I think I still have the delay from this morning's session on the, yeah, right. So the dry sound is actually this. Bring the release a little bit up. So now it sounds rather dry. But we can accommodate for that, especially with a little bit of delay. Actually, that's a little known, I don't know if it's a little known, but for short strings, it oftentimes helps to add just a splosh of little bit of delay. And also, I think we did some EQing on these already. So the original sound was this. Just brought the highs a little bit up. Maybe I bring them a little bit down here. Actually, I could get rid of the whole thing. Just so that EQ just catches some high peaks. Didn't catch the earlier stream. Are you running separate reverbs for each string section? I'm running separate reverbs for the longs and for the shorts and for the solos. So technically, yes, but it's not separated by long high, long low, and short high, short low. But the long strings and the short strings have different reverbs. So didn't play that on the first bar. So, and now I think we can increase that delay a little bit more. And I also bring that a little bit to the front. Minus 25 should be fine for. So, and also check the volume and make sure we include that. 101 translates to -6 on Kontakt usually. We can check that. Yeah, now it's -6. And then we can bring down the tree mic a little bit on this one. And on the violins, why not, and since I loaded the expression map already, why not put some harmonics on top? Okay. Not really sure where this is going, but just fumbling around. I'm not sure if we want to go with something ethnic. Maybe a solo box would be nice. Something on top. So we are at 120. Vocals. Obviously, my go-to would be Ethera. EVI or gold. Let's try some vocal phrases here. And right away, I like to turn off the reverb and the delay that Ethera comes with. I want to use the one from the template. So something in C minor in 120. Do we have something here? C minor. I mean, 130 should be fine as well with time stretching. Let's go with ethnic and use the time mode. So 110 speeds up to 120. Let's see. And that's pretty dry. So control the volume. So I'll go to the inserts. And I can also say, that's the cool thing about Slate. I could say, okay, give me a preset for a vocal, for example. Compared to before, after. Sounds like an improvement to me. And we can still get rid of some low end here. But I mean, where the magic happens, obviously, is in the sense. Vocals have black hole enabled right away. Give them a little bit of vocal verb and vocal delay as well. First two were pretty cool. Didn't like the third one. I need to bring that in a little bit earlier, I think. That one could work. Just want to bring the volume down a little bit on this one. A little bit of volume automation. I do like that one. So pretty nice. So let's glue that. I want to have some low end. We did have the... Let's try. No, I want to have more of a solo cello sound there. Solo cello sound needed. Please come to the information desk. I see it already ending up at Tina again. Or maybe try the lyrical cello from Sonoscore, just to have a little bit of choice. Bring that down without the reverb. Thank you. Solo reverb, a little bit of delay. Okay, sounds pretty nice. Let's try. So, a little bit of cello action there. Very improvised. And let's bring in the secret weapon. Low ensemble long. Low strings. Spitfire. Alvin 1. Strings. Low. Legato. There we go. Still one of the nicest long, low sounds that I know. Okay. And I want to bring that in on the second repetition. So was a little bit soft, so I think we can bring that up a little bit, and I want to quantize that to quarter notes. So record the volume. There we go. Little trick here. I want to have the solo vocal a tad more moved into the room. So what I can do is to switch the vocal reverb to pre-fader and bring the audio fader down a little. That way I move the vocal a little bit more back into the room. And I need to adjust a little bit for the loss of volume with the main volume here. So I can just bring that up by, say, 5. That vocal is Ethera Gold from Clara Zorace is Ethera. It's distributed through 0G. So what happens when I pretty much solo the vocal here, if I were to bring the fader all the way down, I'm only left with a reverb for the room because I have that pre-fader. So that way I can determine how much of the original signal I want to layer on top of the reverb. And the more I bring up the original sound, the closer it gets to the listening position. So if I do it like this, it sounds like the voice is coming from way at the back of the room. But I don't want to have that far back. But a little bit more embedded into the mix, so not as upfront.
So I feel that we can use a cymbal rise for that position. So I'm going to my cymbal, go to percussion, and I know that Loops de la Creme has a great cymbal rise, controllable cymbal rise library. So cymbal rolls. So going with I think a dark crash should do fine. So that is multiple controllable. It runs and runs and runs. Depending on what you do with the mod wheel. So that's great. A great little library. Can totally recommend that. And I have already a low cut on the cymbals. That's good. And let's add a sub boom on the one here. So I go to my sub percussion. Go to, what can we use? Orchestra Tools, Metropolis Arc 3 has some nice ones. Percussion, there we go. But what I know I want to use is the deep drums from Metropolis Arc 2. No, I don't want to use these. And by the way, since you're loading that from when you cultivated your own QuickLoad menu, you can also just, of course, skip through these sounds here. There we go. That's the sound I'm looking for. That one's cool. Ooh, lots of low end there. Good. Volume can even be a little bit more like this. I don't want to put a solo string on top of the cello there. So I haven't tried yet really the Ambertone Joshua Bell. So let's see if we can put that on top. Sorry. My chat is gone. I accidentally closed it. So there we go again. Does that work? Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay, bring the volume down. Let's see. Control simple keyboard alt. Master mod wheel. Okay, sounds good. Bring the reverb down. Up. Bring the solo reverb up. Okay, what did the cello play? I like that. Where do we start? Okay. So let's duplicate that with a solo violin. And make that quieter. I like that. And we could, since we have the phrases here, let's change it up a little bit and go to SoloVox 2 and load the Ethereal Legato to use the same voice, but now play what we want and not what they pre-recorded. So Ethera, Gold, True Legato. And to not load the same settings again, I'm making things simple here and sending out this thing to Solo 1 again, so the same channel as the phrase is using. So that is sitting at -10. So let's try to do the same setting here. And what I did on the phrase is definitely to turn off the internal reverb and delay. Okay, when it triggers the loud dynamics, then it's who and not the ha. So let's see, where do we need to start? Here. And I need to bring that down a little bit more. I will pretty much do volume while recording. So let's go. I messed up that high one. So. Still anyone out there? It's so quiet in the chat. Am I alone on my own? Actually, I don't want to go to the F there, but okay, full things to what we have so far. something is off there. I think the violin going up sounds strange, so we're gonna keep that down. And I messed up the vocal as well. Yeah, I like that better. And this one needs to come in a little bit earlier. I can take the keyboard away when I not play, so if that is helpful. The only thing you need to do is remind me every now and then if I am on a different screen. Because watching onto Cubase, I forgot to look at the stream window. So if you would just let me know, oftentimes I just still in that view and keep working, and you guys don't see shit. So, but yeah, I can get rid of the keyboard there. So, as John, good evening and welcome to the show. I want to try to, let's see, I want to try to put something bell-like, but like an embellishment from Ref. I'm just not sure. That should be under loops, actually. Output, Ref X loops, there we go. And there is a patch in there. I mean, the mandolin and guitar is great as well, but let's try the belts and harps. First things first, learn the filter to the mod wheel. Okay, that's going to be nice. That one sounds pretty cool, but we need to have it way quieter. And I need more release. Yeah, that's better. It's not like that, just creating a little bit of atmosphere. Can hard quantize that, but just to make sure, just listen solo. And I think we can start a little bit more open. I like that. Just a little bit different, not the typical stuff. Hey Gimbal! Evening, morning. So wanna put a little bit of movement in there. So that's going to be 16th. Let's do 30-second length. And step record these guys. Oops. I'm not sure if I need that in double time. Yeah, I need that in double time. Sorry for that. My bad. I messed up. Oh, I messed up badly. What happened? I didn't delete the other stuff. Okay. So can we please make sure that this is working? Once more. So some of these stick out like a sore thumb. There was one playing error, which was here. That needs to go there. So this is doing. I want to have a little bit more of a velocity curve here. Starting softer, rising a little bit more in intensity. Okay. So that should work together. Let's see what it sounds like. I hear some cellos down there in the short strings. Sorry for the interruption there, but we need cellos. Short, significant cellos. Boom. And I need the spiccatos. Yeah, something like that. And we will massively tweak them, maybe OTT or something. So the short strings, yeah, perfect place. Bring these up here. 16th note is fine. 32nd is fine as well. Maybe octave down. Let's see, these strings together sound like, well, CSS, obviously, minus 60. I think the Shelly can be a little bit less aggressive, but let's bring out the tone a little bit more. So put these on loop. First of all, they need a little bit of reverb. Just controlling the peaks. So, but EQ is the most important thing on these guys. Cutting below 60. There's that nasal frequency that I usually don't like with the cellos. And overall, just give it a little bit of a boost. In the 10K range. Before and after. That's before. After. Actually, I can bring that down. So let's see what it sounds together. Can bring in that thump once more. And also we could, since we loaded Omnisphere, nah, I don't like that. Actually, what I want to do is just bring in a straight sub. Hmm. Oh, that's why. Oh, I was kind of wondering where is the bass in that sound? Okay, there we go. Okay, just a little bit of low end. I can bring that way down. Just want to have some support in the low end there. Hard quantizing these guys was a little bit too quiet. And just want to make sure that this is going to synth bass. It's actually not really thick sub bass. It's a sine wave with a little bit of distortion on top. Nothing more. It's as simple as it gets. Oops, that F was a little bit early. And that last sub is from the hit, not from the bass. I feel that we could layer in a little bit of ensemble chords. Let's see what we can find. That sounds nice. I don't want to go too thick, so what do we think of? Musical sampling, soaring strings. Full. That sounds pretty nice. I need to record the mod wheel afterwards because I want to space out these chords. Okay, let's try that. So I'm bringing up the mod wheel all the way up so I hear what I'm recording and then I'm doing the automation afterwards. Nice sound there in the strings. I haven't used them in a while. And honestly, this is one of the most important aspects for me in using this template. Um, when I work with a big template and have all the sounds loaded, etc., the problem is that you never change the sounds. You always use the same stuff. So you, after quite a while, you tend to sound of same-ish. And while that can be good still, and especially when you dialed in the sound that you really like. Um, I feel that with this template approach, what's different is that you suddenly browse through your sounds and think of other choices that you would not have made if everything was preset in a template and sitting there ready to go. So it's still a fast way of working, but you can still change or explore your own sound library way more than you can do it with a fixed template where you just decide on the sound that you want to have in there, unless you have a huge overblown template that has pretty much every sound available. But then you're down to the point that you scroll through 3,000s of tracks. So this is kind of for me the best of both worlds, having the ease of a template with all the routing and everything in place, but still the ability to quickly audition and change sounds on the fly without breaking the system. We were talking about that before with a RAM load on this system setup. So right now, with a bunch of sounds loaded, Cubase is sitting at not even 14 gigabytes, so 13 and some breadcrumbs, with a pretty decent sound already. But let me record the module on the strings here. Nice. So when I listen to the strings alone, with the shorts and with the solo, and what I would do is, first of all, the high strings from Metropolis Arc are a little bit quiet here, so I could bring them up overall a little bit. But also, I want to have a little bit more definition. So there's two ways we could do it. Either we duplicate, yeah, I think that might work. Let's duplicate this whole high picattissimo track onto another instance of Metropolis Arc 4, which is chamber size. So going with these and the staccattissimos, and maybe I need to bring these down in volume. So I copy that over and check the send level. And I think I need to bring the velocity down on these so they don't poke as much. Yeah, when we layer these two together, I think they sound pretty nice. Well, bring them forward just by... Oh, not as much. Let's do minus 25. And actually, I want to use these. So okay, I can turn them up a little bit. It was a bit too quiet. So let's see. Now all three together. And little trick, since we have the high strings leaning a little bit to the left, let's go to this one, go to the fader, change that to stereo combine and switch the stereo field. And immediately we have these strings on the right side. So, and when we layer these together, it should sound pretty nice and broad. That sounds nice. Give me a short moment to tweak something off cam. Yeah, the battery light is losing its power. Anyway, so that sounds pretty nice. Okay, these high strings come in a little bit hot, so we can bring them down again a little bit. And also, I feel that that main melody there is pretty nice. So let's support that with a little bit of horns. What can we do? Audio Imperia, Jaeger, Nucleus. Let's go with Nucleus. Yep. My stream was gone for a second. Sorry. So, and then we are actually going to finish this up. Inserts. Little trick there. Put this guy on top for some bite. Works wonders. Audio sense. So let's see. I just want to fade this out with that little bell patch running again. Just with that one. It's a very nice little cue, a minute long. Pretty fast. Good enough. Eighth notes. Quantize a little bit. Last note, done. Nice. So, and the cool thing in the end, I mean, since we're talking about this template that I built and is on sale right now, introduction sale. The cool thing is obviously when you're done with writing and have everything mixed and pretty much in place, uh, is obviously the rendering. And this is where Cubase is just superior to, as far as I know, any other DAW. So I can select to render the stems in the system already. So, and I know I have strings, I have brass, I have keys, I have synth, no guitars, no ethnic, I have bass, I have vocals, I do have percussion, tonal percussion, no drums, no sound effects, no tonal sound effects, and I can render the master as well. So, quick load, new track, let's call it like that. And I want to put it into my Cubase session, starting on 2, that's fine. So now I just hit a single button. So have hit one button. Let's close all the folders and mute these guys. Okay. So, and now I have immediately all the stems and the master of this track available. So when we listen just to the stems, this is now just the stems. Let's bring that up a little bit. Nope, no percussion yet. Obviously, that's coming in here. You can also increase the waveform so we see that better. And that's the master, pre-master. The caveats for Studio One, there's just some stuff, for example, in this export functionality that is not working as well as in Cubase, and also the whole possibility to have the channel controls directly available. But I'm looking into that, and as soon as I have a at least kind of proper version that by the way, I didn't show the window again. Here we are with the stems and with the master. If as soon as I have a kind of workaround and have it working in Studio One as well, I will provide that too. And I'm looking into Logic as well. So these are the three mains that I'm considering of updating later down the line and making that available for these different DAWs. So, but other than that, yeah, just wanted to take another chance to showcase the template. In case you are interested, it is available at, give me a moment, store.composingtutorials.com. Intro price $29, goes to $39 next week, Friday. So if you are in Cubase 10.5, and do have Kontakt 6. These are the only preconditions. You don't need these plugins that I'm working with here. There is a stock plugin version included, and you can obviously swap out all these plugins to whatever you prefer to work with. The ones used in the template here are just my personal preference, but you can exchange these to whatever you like, or you can go with these. Overall, this whole system is based around your sounds and what you have available on your system. So just make sure to properly cultivate your quick load. There's a very detailed instruction in the manual how to change the quick load or add the quick load that I have here to your system. And once you have that, it's just a matter of dragging the corresponding patches into the folders. If the folders are not there, you can create new ones. If you don't have any other stuff, you can delete it, obviously. And yeah, it's my idea of what did I write? Insider sources. Me say it's the best thing since sliced bread. I love working with it, and I thought maybe just try and figure out a way to make it available to others as well. So if you consider that, hop over to the shop and buy it. Makes me happy. If you are not on Cubase, you can still think of jumping over to my Patreon page and maybe support the channel over there. That's another thing that I'm doing right now. And there's more stuff coming, like track reviews and MIDI data available. I just posted, we were talking about that, my favorite piano patch. I posted that on Patreon. There will be sound and presets coming, and maybe even samples. We will see. Have some things on my mind there right now that I may do in that regard. So, other than that, final track for the night. Thanks for tuning in and listening to me rambling on that stuff again, especially for you guys who were here second time. If you're interested, hop over. If you bought it, maybe leave a review. That would be great. And thanks, everyone, and good night.